Hi friends, are you ready for the next few chapters of Front Desk? When we left off, Mia's dad had bought her a pencil and she took it to school and Jason got a hold of it. And the teacher caught them and took the pencil away, and the teacher decided that it was actually Jason's pencil because Jason said to give the pencil back to Mia instead of breaking it in half. Also, Mia and her mom went to the mall to do a little shopping, which they weren't really shopping, but they ran into Jason and his mom, and Mia's mom panicked because she thought for sure that the Yaos were going to take them for more money, thinking that they had savings and they were actually shopping at Macy's, which people like them don't shop at Macy's. All right, let's find out what happens. Chapter 39. Dear Jason, I hate you. Please give me back my pencil or else I'm going to punch you in the face for the following reasons. Number 1, it's mine. Number 2, you have so many pencils, including 2 really cool bendable ones you don't even use. It's totally unfair. 3, that pencil cost a lot of money, and I know you saw us at Macy's, but we were just pretending, just looking. We do not have savings. Number 4, that pencil's really important to me. You have no idea how much it means to me. Sincerely, Mia. I crossed out number 4 because I knew he wouldn't care. If anything, it would only make him want to keep the pencil even more, just to irritate me. Wasn't that what this is all about? The phone started ringing and I put my pencil down. It was Mr. Yao. I frowned. Now what? Tell your parents I'm going to be gone this weekend, he said. I half listened as he explained how he was taking his family to Las Vegas. I was in no mood to listen to his vacation plans. What are you telling me this for? I said into the phone. I'm telling you because you guys keep having all these issues with the cable, he said. If you have any while I'm gone, I left Jose's number with my housekeeper. I sat up on my stool. So you're not going to be at your house this weekend? That's right. None of you? Not even Jason? Right. It occurred to me that there could be an opportunity here. Lupe was less than enthused when I told her about my plan. I don't know, she said. What do you mean? All we have to do is go over to his house after school and tell the housekeeper that we're from the Girl Scouts and we're here to sell cookies. Then we'll ask her if we can use the bathroom. And when you're in using the bathroom, I'll sneak into Jason's room and get my pencil back. I had been over the plan with her 3 times already. It was perfect. Lupe looked away. I don't want to get in trouble, she said. You're not going to get in trouble, I said. They're out of town. It'll just be their housekeeper. If there's anyone even there, the whole thing's only going to take 5 minutes. Lupe shook her head. I crossed my arms. I was beginning to get really tired of this. You know what? You always do this, I said to her. Do what? Chicken out. What do you mean? She asked. The fact that she didn't even know what I was talking about was even more infuriating. You never stand up for me, I said to her. I thought you were my friend. You don't get it, do you? Get what? Nothing. Forget it. There was no mistaking it, the anger in her eyes. What are you talking about? I asked her. I'm talking about you. You're going to Vermont. You can say all the crazy stuff to Jason because he likes you, she exclaimed. What about me? I blinked in confusion. I can't go with you to Mr. Yao's house, she said. My dad still needs Mr. Yao. Lupe squeezed her eyes shut. Unlike you, we don't have another plan. Chapter 40. The storm in Lupe's face stuck with me after she left. I felt sick with regret making her feel this way. After all she'd done for me, Lupe was my best friend. She was the one who told me about the roller coaster in the first place. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't even know about it. And there I was going on and on about my plan to get off of it without even thinking about her. It should be her entering the contest, not me. Let's face it, she had a much better chance of winning anyway. I decided to write her a letter. Dear Lupe, I'm sorry I said all those mean things. I completely understand if you don't want to go to Mr. Yao's house with me. Actually, I've been thinking about it and I don't think I'm going to go either. You're right, it's just too risky. We have to be careful. I might have a plan for now, but we still work for him. And as you say, we still need him. About the plan, I've been thinking, why don't you enter the essay contest? I can tell what you to write about. You probably have a better shot at winning it. Your grammar's a lot better than mine. If you win, maybe we can run it together. What do you think? Your friend, Mia. The next day at school, I went very early to school to put the letter in Lupe's desk. I also had something special for Jason, but it wasn't a letter I wrote him. It was something else I had picked up recently from another Chinese immigrant. When I was helping this uncle with his luggage, I had pulled too hard and got a blister in my hand. The man said he had just the right thing to give me a little vial of Chinese medicine. I felt minty and cool on my finger, but when I reached up to tuck my bangs behind my ear, my minty finger got a little too close to my eye. I was crying in seconds. So after I set Lupe's letter back down on her desk, I practically soaked Jason's pencil with the same stuff that made me cry. Let's see him twirl these suckers now. Jason did not notice the gleam on his pencils when he sat down later that morning. He was too busy bragging about Las Vegas and all the great food he ate and the luxurious suite they stayed in. They had a pool with 3 pool slides. There was even a restaurant right smack in the... When are you going to give me my pencil back? I asked. I wanted to cut to the chase. I couldn't care less about his fancy pools, considering I stared at one all day. You mean my pencil? He shrugged. I gave it to my dog, Wealthy. It's probably all chewed up by now. He would give it to his dog. He would have a dog named Wealthy. Jason smirked, picked up one of his pencils and started twirling. He twirled it a little too close to his face, and just as I predicted, the strong minty smell made his eyes water. He put the pencil down and began rubbing his eyes furiously with his menthol fingers. Big mistake. Oh my gosh, Jason's crying, one of my classmates exclaimed. No, I'm not, Jason insisted, blinking furiously. But it was too late. Everyone ran over and huddled next to Jason. It wasn't every day that a kid in 5th grade started bawling. 4th grade maybe, but not 5th grade. We watched with wide eyes as Jason cried and cried. Sunlight flooded in through the tall glass windows and Jason's tears glistened in the warm peach glow. I couldn't stop smiling the whole time. It was a beautiful, beautiful day. Chapter 41. The only thing that could make this day more beautiful was the chance of Lupe forgiving me. I watched as she read my letter and a smile bloomed across her face. So you'll do it? You'll enter the essay contest? I asked her. Lupe chuckled. Oh no, if you want to win a motel, you're going to have to win it yourself, she said. But I will help you with your grammar. I threw my arms around her. And I'm sorry about what I said to you and Jason. You guys are not the same at all, Lupe said into my hair. I skipped all the way home that day, riding the wave of hope and promise, a glorious wave so strong and so powerful. I thought it would never end. But then I turned onto Coast Boulevard. Everything came crashing down. My mother was lying on the side of the road, blood, a thick gooey red, gushing down the side of her face. Mom! I screamed. With her shivering hands, she touched her stomach and then stared at her fingertips, blinking in disbelief as she registered the color. Shaking, she told me what happened. While I was at school, some people came and tried to break into the front office. They were after the cash register. My mom heard them and rushed downstairs. The first kick to my mom's stomach landed with a thud. She had screamed in pain and fallen to the ground. My father was in the laundry room and he couldn't hear her over the roar of the washing machine, but Hank heard the scream. He came running out of his room just as the second kick landed to my mother's head. Oh, Mom! I hugged her and I cried. Her lips were cut open and she could barely talk. They took off running when they saw Hank, she cried, but Hank ran after them. I've never seen him so angry. He's still out there. Suddenly I heard my dad's voice. Mia! My father called. I looked over at him. He was standing by the laundry room carrying an armful of towels. When he saw my mother on the ground, the towels fell from his hands and he ran toward us. The pain that whipped across his face when he got up close and saw my mom was indescribable. He collapsed on the ground next to her, his voice shaking as he told her it was going to be okay. Carefully, I helped my mom up from the curb and brought her into the manager's quarters. We got her into bed, where I put an ice pack on her head and a hot water bottle on her tummy. The wound had turned deep purple. Whenever I lifted the blanket to look, my mom grimaced. My dad paced the living room. It should have been me, not you, he said. It should have been me. I'm fine, my mom insisted, trying to sit up straighter, only to collapse back down because it was too painful. We have to get her to a hospital, I said to my dad. No, my mom said, coughing. We don't have any insurance. Going to the hospital will kill us. My dad plunged his head into his hands. I realized he was crying. "How did we get here?" he muttered over and over again. "How did we get here?" I walked over to my room and retrieved my Ziploc bag of tips. "I have some money," I said. My parents were so busy crying and coughing that they didn't even hear me. "You guys, I have some money," I yelled. My father drove as quickly as he could. "Hang on," he said. "We're almost there." I sat in the back, clutching my Ziploc bag full of money with one hand and holding my mother with the other. The doctor in the ER saw my mom right away. He was a white guy and seemed really concerned. He asked my mom whether she was dizzy. She said no. He asked my mom whether she remembered blacking out when she hit the ground. She said maybe. She wasn't sure. He asked her to describe the pain on a scale of 1 to 10. I thought for sure she would say 10 or 11 from the way she kept grinding her teeth and wincing every time she moved, but instead she said it was more like a 7. They took her in for an x-ray. My dad and I waited outside because they said it wasn't good for kids to be in the x-ray room. When at last the doctor reappeared, he had good news. None of my mom's bones were broken. She had a mild concussion, and the doctor gave her painkillers and bandages for the bleeding, which thankfully was just on the outside, not on the inside. "Make sure she takes it easy for the next few days," he said. "Use an ice pack for 10 to 20 minutes at a time. Gradually the swelling will go down and so will the bruising. No work, no gym." My dad laughed out loud when he said gym. I guess the idea of my mom, or any of us, going to the gym was pretty funny. My dad promised that she wouldn't and thanked the doc. His smile faded when the doctor gave him the bill. I peeked around his arm and read the paper too. The total came to $5,800. My dad gripped the counter to keep from falling. I thought he was going to have a concussion. Frantically, he explained to the nurses in his broken English that we didn't have any insurance. "No insurance?" the nurses asked exasperately. "How could you have no insurance?" The nurses stared long and hard at us, these alien, insuranceless creatures. They told us to wait while we got their supervisor. 10 minutes later, the supervisor appeared. He was another white guy, stern-looking, about 40 years old. As we explained our insurancelessness situation to him, he looked like he had about as much empathy as a Lego. He asked us to fill out a bunch of special forms for low-income people. "We'll only waive the hospital bills if you make less than the federal poverty income guideline for family of 3, he said. We started filling out the forms. Since my parents made about $750 a month, that came to about $9,000 a year. The poverty line for a family our size was $11,890, so we were well below the poverty line. But the form also asked us how much we paid in rent. We put down 0 because technically we got free board living in the manager's quarters. The supervisor looked at that and started shaking his head. "Free rent? Sorry, but you don't qualify," he said. "What do you mean?" my mom asked. "You can't get free rent and free health care," he said, crossing his arms. "But we're dirt poor," I said. "It says so right here." I held up the poverty chart on the form he gave us. There it was, clear as day, how categorically poor we were. He took a long look at us. "I bet you guys aren't even citizens." We looked at the floor. "No, didn't think so. You have to take it up with the billing and collections. They'll decide whether you qualify for a full waiver or not. But I doubt it," he said. "Until then, the most I can give you is a 40% discount, so you'll still need to pay." He pulled out a calculator and started crunching the numbers. $3,480, he announced. At this point, my mom started crying. She let out a sob so thunderous, I wondered if my cousins in China could hear her. I've never seen her cry like that before, not even when she was laying on the side of the street. The doctor who had been examining her ran to see what was wrong. When I explained the situation to him, he turned angrily at the hospital supervisor. "You want to charge these poor people $3,480? Can't you say they just got the crap beat out of them?" he asked the supervisor, almost yelling. The supervisor looked sheepish, but insisted on having a word with the doctor in private. We held our breaths as the two of them walked into the room and closed the door. We could see them arguing through the glass window. The doctor's arms kept flying and the supervisor's head kept shaking. When they came out, my father held my hand so tight it hurt. The supervisor spoke first. "We've decided, in light of the circumstances," he started to say. "We're going to waive the fees," the doctor blurted out. "Really?" my mom asked. She peered at the doctor with her big, brown, bruised eyes. Really, the doctor said. I threw my arms around him. My mother collapsed into my dad. The supervisor cleared his throat. There's still a basic hospital fee and $150 you'll need to pay, he said. I held up my Ziploc bag full of dollar bills and quarters. I've got that right here. I'd be lying if I said it didn't hurt handing over my Ziploc bag of all those nights. I stayed up secretly counting the money with a flashlight. The adrenaline and the excitement coursing through me. In a flash, it was all gone. But another part of me felt tremendously proud to be able to pay for our first visit to the doctor in this country with money I'd earned all by myself. When we got home, my dad and I helped my mom into bed. We thought it would be a good idea for her to sleep there for a while so that she wouldn't be jolted awake at night by the sound of the front desk buzzer. How come you didn't tell us you had all this money? My mom asked. I shrugged. Well, thank you, honey, my mom said. She put her arms around me and hugged me tight. Thank you for spending it on your old mom. My dad came in and sat down the tea, bathing the room in jasmine. Get some sleep, my dad said to my mom, kissing the top of her head. My mom reached for my dad's hand. Hey, my mom said to my dad, thanks for taking me to the hospital. My dad turned away from her. What's wrong? My mom asked him. He shook his head. He had a great big teardrops in his eyes. What is it? My mother said softly. I promised when I married you that I'd take care of you, he said in a small voice, and I failed you. I sucked in a breath. I looked over at my mom, who sat there calmly, her hand draped casually over her wound. Quit feeling sorry for yourself, my mom said to my dad. I'll decide when you failed me, and you're not even close. In that moment, I realized how deep my parents' love for each other was. It was deeper than anything Mr. Yao or America could throw at them. My dad chuckled and kissed my mom's bruised lips. What did I ever do to deserve you? He asked. That night, I did not go to sleep. I stayed up late waiting for Hank to come home and writing a letter to the doctor who helped my mom. Dear doctor, thank you for helping my mom. She's sleeping now. She asked before she fell asleep if there was any more stinky tofu up in the cupboard, so I think she's going to be okay. You're the first doctor we've ever seen in America. To be honest, I was always a little scared of you. My parents said that we should never ever see you unless we were seriously about to die, and even then, we should think about it. That's because you're really expensive. I always thought that that made you kind of mean, but tonight I learned you're not mean at all. In fact, you're very kind. Thank you for not charging my mom all that money, and thank you for showing us that it's not just every man for himself in America. I hope to one day be able to repay you. Until then, I hope you'll accept this letter and this picture of a tree that I drew for you. The tree represents my mom, and the leaves represent all the new hope that you've given her that people in America are kind. Sincerely, Mia Tang. All night I worked on the tree, making little V's for branches and twigs just like Lupe had taught me. And then I drew the leaves, hundreds and hundreds of little leaves, not rushing this time, because the doctor did not rush with my mom. He took his time. It was 3 a.m. when I finally finished. Hank still wasn't home. From the lumpy living room sofa, I peered out the window at the dark, eerie streets. I wondered what happened to him. Did he find those people? Did they hurt him? The worry festered in me until morning when I couldn't stand it any longer and told my dad that we had to do something. Go to the police. Start searching the streets. Just as we were about to head out, Hank came limping back, wearing the same clothes as yesterday. His hair a disheveled mess. What happened? I asked him. Hank sighed. You want the good news or the bad news? He asked. All right, friends, that's it for today. I will see you next time.